Welcome to the Power of a Woman's Voice, a program sponsored by the New York chapter of the National Association of Women Judges and co-sponsored by the Albany County Bar Association, the Capital District Women's Bar Association, the Third Gender Fairness Committee, the Rensselaer County Bar Association, and the Ulster County Bar Association. We are at the end of Women History Month, and we are often reminded of all the trailblazers of the past that have paved the road for all of us today. The story of women's rights movements is really a story of strong women supporting other women and giving a voice to those who might not be as strong enough to speak up for themselves. Today, we want to focus on those women in our legal community who are making history today. Today, we've brought together 10 incredible women who will share their diverse experiences and expertise and express the need for women to speak up and support other women. These presenters are all strong women leaders who have used their strength and power of their positions to empower other women who perhaps were not ready or able to make themselves heard. But before we dive into the program, on behalf of our co-sponsors, the Third Gender Fairness Committee for the Third Judicial District, it's a privilege to yield to my dear friend, our Administrative Judge for the Third Judicial District, Honorable Gerald Connolly, for a very special presentation to a woman who is to all of us a role model, a trailblazer, and a hero, the Honorable Karen K. Peters. Judge Connolly?
Thank you very much, Judge Fisher. So I want to start, and I know I only have a few moments, and that's not nearly enough time, Judge Peters, to be frank, to list your accomplishments and the admiration that we all have for you. But I want to start by saying it's an honor to me to be part of this program, to be able to make this presentation to you personally, and I want to express my gratitude to the Third JD's Gender Fairness Committee and to the National Association of Women Judges for allowing me to take a moment or two in this very important program and to appear on this program with these incredibly accomplished leaders to make this presentation. And I really, I'm humbled and honored to be able to do it. So it is my privilege and my honor to present to Judge Peters the beloved Leslie E. Stein Equal Justice Award in recognition of her demonstrated exemplary leadership in advancing equal opportunity and gender fairness in the courts and in society. Judge, I'm going to go through your background a little bit because there's people here who don't know it. So Judge Peters was raised on Long Island. She attended George Washington University and received her JD from NYU. After time in private practice in New Paltz, and she served as an ADA in Dutchess County and has taught at State University of New Paltz. She served as counsel to the State Division of Alcoholism and Alcohol Abuse from '79 to '83, before becoming director of the State Assembly Government Operations Committee. Her judicial career began with her election to the Ulster County Family Court in 1983. In 1992, she became the first woman elected to the Supreme Court in the Third Department and was reelected in 2006. She was appointed to the Appellate Division, Third Department in 1994 by Governor Mario Cuomo. She became the first woman to be presiding justice of the Third Department when she was appointed by Governor Andrew Cuomo in 2012. She took on the load, as always, and served as a member of the Commission on Judicial Conduct from 2000 to 2012. She's been the chair of the State Bar Association's Committee on Judicial Wellness, has served on that association's Special Committee on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, the Special Committee on Procedures for Judicial Discipline, and the President's Committee on Access to Justice. She's a member of the New York State Permanent Judicial Commission on Justice for Children. So she's fought her whole career, as we all know, to be a voice for those who needed one desperately. And she's made just an amazing career out of that. And she's done an uncountable number of good things for people and had just a tremendous influence on people all around her. And her status as a trailblazer, which is it's undeniable, and it's very, very real. But to my eye, it came as a result of her commitment to that cause and just simply the recognized power of her voice as she went through her career. She's a real leader. Real leaders are defined to me by the actions and the examples that they set and how they look out for those who are following them. And she's been amazing. And as I said already, it's an honor to me to be able to present this award. And I know Judge Fisher is there to hand it to you. Judge Peters, thank you very much from all of us.
Thank you, Judge Fisher.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Connolly. It's always so nice to be in your presence, even if it's virtual. So I'm really grateful to receive this award named after Judge Stein, who was such a trailblazer and also a personal friend. And let me read it to you. First of all, it's a vase, perfectly wonderful, wonderful gift. I will use it often, and I will be remembering all of you often as I do so. It says, Honorable Leslie E. Stein Gender Equity Award for exemplary leadership in advancing equal opportunity in the courts and in society. It's just beautiful. Rachel, I'm sure you had a lot to do with the gift and how it's inscribed. Thank you so much for your thoughtfulness. Judge Stein and I have always believed that as we move forward in our careers, we also have to turn around and look back. Judge Stein and I took the bench when there were very few women judges in the Third Judicial District and in the Third Department. So we know full well that a path once groomed can quickly grow over and disappear if others don't walk in the same direction. So Leslie Stein, you and me, I think I can say honestly, made enormous efforts during our careers to reach back and bring other women along the roads we traveled so that we could assure the vitality of the bench and ensure that women received equal opportunity. I know that each of you here today is engaging in the same activity. You're mentoring, you're turning around, you're looking back, and you're helping some other woman walk the path that you've walked. And I thank you for that. When I grew up, all judges were white men. Usually they had gray hair, but they were all white men. The ones on television, the ones you read about in books, the ones you saw in the courtroom. Women judges were unheard of in upstate New York. So I want to share a story with you that was repeated just last Friday when my portrait was unveiled in the Ulster County Courthouse. The first portrait of a woman to grace the wall in the Ulster County Courthouse in the over 300-year history of the Supreme Court. At my hanging, as I call it, my son Avanti, who's now 34 years old, spoke. He talked about a childhood experience he had, and I want to share it with you. When Avanti was about 3 years old, I used to drive past the Ulster County Family Court to take him to daycare, where he was during the day, of course, while I was at work as a judge. And one day, as we're driving past the family court on the way to daycare, he's in the back seat and he says, "Mom?" I said, "Yes, Avanti." "Mom," he said. "Yes, Avanti," I said. "How come only girls can be judges? Why can't boys be judges?" I laughed because his whole life he'd only known two judges, Judge Mary Work and myself. We had made history in Ulster County by having two family court judges, both of whom were women. So his experience was in a courthouse where all the judges were female. But interestingly, I tried to explain to him that he could become a judge and that the system wasn't really fair, but it was becoming fairer. So when Avanti told the story just last Friday about the experience he had asking me why only girls could be judges, he said the following. Remember, he's 3. Now he's 34. So with my limited worldview, I had logically concluded that to be a judge, you had to be a girl. This exemplifies how important visibility and representation are. And that's exactly what it exemplifies. It exemplifies that one's worldview is affected by what one sees and hears and feels. Avanti learned at an early age what all of us have tried to instill in the public during our careers, and many of you have achieved greatly. And that is that the bench has to reflect the community it serves. And if it does, then people have faith in the rule of law and believe they're treated fairly. I'm grateful for this award, and I'm most grateful to be looking at the photographs of so many women judges. We've come so far. I applaud each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Connolly, and congratulations to Justice Peters. Avante's comment is proof that representation does in fact matter. Now, one quick housekeeping question or matter I'd like to tend to is I'd like everyone in the audience to turn off their cameras and mute themselves. Can you turn that computer off? Thank you. All right. For the remainder of the program, we will hear from 5 groups of 2 women, with each group addressing a different aspect of our theme, the power of a woman's voice. In the interest of time, I will forego the formal introductions. All of their biographies are on our flyer, and we'll just jump in. If you have any questions for the panelists, please note your questions in the comments box. And if there's time at the end, we'll do our best to respond. The first up is our dynamic duo from Albany County, Judge Ackerman, the founder of the UCAN, a court-based mentoring program that has had tremendous success helping the struggling youth who wind up in the criminal justice system, and Amanda Ross Carroll, who was among the first UCAN mentors. Judge Ackerman and Amanda, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm going to give a extremely thin overview of the UCAN program, which stands for United Against Crime Community Action Network. If anyone has any questions as well or wants additional specific information, please feel free to email me. But as a general overview, I want to say in 2016, when I became a new judge, I saw countless young struggling defendants coming through my courtroom. They all had so many commonalities, such as having at least one parent, if not both, absent or imprisoned, at least one parent, if not both, addicted to alcohol and or drugs, or either otherwise emotionally unavailable. They're poor, they've dropped out of school, they're expelled or on the verge of being expelled. Their crimes were escalating in severity very quickly. It was clear that they felt worthless, had no direction, and really lost hope in their own lives. When they appeared in court, they generally appeared alone without support. And I thought, is it possible to create a program within the court system that can not only help them get through the court system without a criminal history, but on a better path in life that helps protect our community by reducing victimization? It helps them and the cycle and to have a better productive life. I thought about a program that included a year of interim probation with an initial plea of guilty, but then if they successfully completed interim probation, then they could withdraw their plea of guilty and leave without a criminal history. But understanding that most of these young individuals don't have any structure at home, they're not going to follow structure, especially from a stranger, without support. And how could we provide that support? And I thought that support would come through a mentor, someone outside of the criminal justice system, but part of the community that could provide outside support to assist them through the structure of probation. So that being said, with my partner in the UCAN program, John Carr, not costing the court system any additional money, we created UCAN, United Against Crime Community Action Network. And that's an overview of how it works. If they get through that year of interim probation, they graduate the program. And although it's on a case-by-case basis, so it can't happen for everyone, as a general overview, they're allowed to withdraw their plea of guilty and leave without a criminal history. What I'd like to turn it over to Amanda in a moment to discuss her experience, I need to tell you first a little bit about Amanda. She was our first, one of our first mentors when we first created the UCAN program in 2017. I had a young woman who did not trust other people, or anyone really, women, female or male. Was a very tough nut to crack in the court system. Started out with a felony. The DA's office agreed to reduce it to a misdemeanor to put her in the program. And if she completed the program, she would be able to withdraw that plea of guilty and leave without a criminal history. And Amanda was her mentor. And the young woman did graduate. She left without a criminal history and in nursing school at the conclusion. And I need to read to you some quotes that this young woman, after she graduated, said about the program and about Amanda. These are quotes from her. When I was going through hard times or had a lot on my mind, I could always count on Amanda being there for me. I could actually trust her, which is something I lacked in my life. Amanda was like a bigger sister, best friend and mom all in one. Doesn't get any better than that. My favorite part was hearing the judge say how proud she is of me and having other people in court cheering me on rather than glaring at me about things I wish I never did. Having a mentor helped me to focus on the positive things and guided me in the right direction. I really felt she was someone who listened and truly took her time to talk to me, always giving me an honest answer. To have someone there you can speak to who's willing to listen and never judge was really helpful. So with that, I'm proud to turn it over to Amanda Ross.
Thank you, Judge. I would like to talk briefly about my experience with the UCAN program, why I chose to mentor, and the benefits not only for the mentee, but also for the mentor. So when Judge Ackerman told me about the UCAN program, I thought back about with all the positive role models I had in my life, throughout my life, and I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity for me to pay it forward. And as Judge Ackerman touched on, many of the female defendants in our courtrooms, they have not been so lucky to have a lot of female, positive female role models in their life. Many of them grew up with trauma and dysfunction, and they just simply haven't learned the skills necessary to be successful. And I think as successful women that we have an obligation to these young women to help them and provide them with the tools that they need to live happy and productive lives. And I'm very fortunate to be part of the program and be able to do that with my mentee. So I think if we could all imagine for a moment what our life might have turned out to be, or what it might have been like if we haven't had the love and support that many of us had throughout our whole lives. And that's why this program and programs like it are so important. These young women sometimes for the first time feel valued and they feel heard, and the program holds them accountable. It provides them with structure that's necessary for success. We all know that that's vitally important. And they also leave this program with crime-free lives moving forward and with a path. And so they have all these positive outcomes, but there's also positive outcomes for the mentor as well. I found mentoring put things in perspective for me. You know, I would be driving to meet my mentee and worrying about where to have my daughter's next birthday party or what private school would be the best choice for her. And then I would meet with my mentee and she would tell me that she's worried about where she's going to live after she has her baby, or worried that she'll have enough gas money to get to work this week. So it definitely puts things in perspective, makes you realize just how fortunate you are, and if you can help give the tools that you've learned to be successful to these other women, it's an amazing feeling. So I know we're all busy with our families and our careers, but if you have that 1 hour a week to give, you really can change a young woman's life. And nothing I did was miraculous. It was simply listening, providing positive feedback, telling her all the strengths that I could see in her that she couldn't see in herself, and helping her navigate life's challenges that we all face.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, I thought that's our summary of the program, and we're glad to answer any questions at the end that anyone has.
Well, thank you. Thank you both. I think it's very interesting. One of the things I heard from Amanda say, it just reminds me of what I used to like to say to some of the young attorneys, was that you have to remember, especially in New York State, when you become a lawyer, you're an attorney and you're a counselor at law. So it's not just about the law, it's about counseling. And so much of what we do as a profession is about counseling people. And that is exemplified so much in what you just, described, Amanda. So thank you so much for that. And I guess we will, anybody that wants to leave a question, and I hope maybe we'll get some new mentors for Judge Ackerman through this program. You can leave your questions in the comments section, and we'll get to those at the end. But for now, I'll ask Judge Ackerman for you guys to turn off your camera, and I would invite Judge Keene and Heather to open their computers, their cameras, and their microphones as well, and ask you to explain to our group what it is you do to help women.
Thank you, Judge Fisher, and congratulations to Judge Peters. Just a little bit of background. In 2014, I was elected to the Troy City bench, City Court bench, and I was immediately cross-assigned to Rensselaer County Family Court. As part of my duties as a Troy City Court, I was tasked with establishing a specialty part dealing with domestic violence between intimate partners and crimes that arose as a result of those incidents. With the amazing support of the what was then the Office of the Statewide Coordinating Judge for Family Violence, another powerful woman, now Administrative Judge Deborah Kaplan, I had an opportunity to receive amazing training in domestic violence, the dynamics of domestic violence, the psychology of domestic violence, and most importantly, the trauma, the effects of trauma on the entire family that domestic violence causes. Sitting in both the DV part in city court and sitting in family court, I became acutely aware of the complexities and the necessity of a multi-layered approach to dealing with cases for domestic violence. I witnessed the challenges firsthand, especially of the women who were victims not only from their partner, but sometimes victims from the system or from society in general. And what I realized with that those women who needed a voice the most were helped by Heather Dukes. And Heather is an attorney for Unity House. And through a trauma-informed representation of her clients, Heather has been able to very successfully navigate for those who need a voice the most. So Heather, at this time, I would like ask you to provide everyone with some of what it is that you do.
Thank you very much, Judge, for your kind words. And I also second the congratulations to Judge Peters as a real trailblazer for all of us women here in New York State. Judge Keene mentioned something very important called trauma-informed representation. And several years ago, when I was working as a staff attorney at the time at Unity House, we also received intensive training about the importance of trauma-informed representation, which really recognizes the role that trauma plays in an attorney-client relationship. And as Judge Keene mentioned, there's multiple layers of abuse. We have clients who are victimized by their significant others, and some women who also have been victims of trauma literally since they were old enough to walk. So they're coming in the doors of Unity House here in Troy or in our residential shelter program, experiencing many years of trauma, many fractured relationships, and side effects that have been a result of the trauma that they have encountered. So our approach here at Unity House is really to meet our clients where they're at, accept them, unconditionally, and to provide services that are really based on trust, honesty, and understanding. So building trust with trauma victims is something that takes a long time to do, and it starts right at our intake process. And I always try to be very honest with my client about what reasonable expectations are and give them an honest assessment of their case so they can grow to trust me and we're able to work more effectively together. As we navigate through the process of family court, it's very stressful for our clients to come in contact with their abusers. Maybe they haven't seen them in a while, or they've experienced some very recent significant trauma that has caused them to be very upset. So trauma-informed representation also involves extensive court preparation and definitely, when we go to trial, extensive trial preparations. That is something that's very, very traumatic and stressful for our clients. So we just try to give them as much time as we can. And I'm very blessed to have an extensive staff here at Unity House with paralegals, police advocates, case managers, and we really believe in a holistic approach to assisting women who are domestic violence victims. We have a shelter here. We have extensive counseling services with domestic violence trained counselors. We also assist women with housing issues. So when they leave the shelter or looking for new housing, we have a housing program and caseworkers that can work with them. We've also collaborated with the Troy Police Department as well as other law enforcement agencies in the area to have officers on staff here that can come right to our building and take a police report and work with our clients so they don't have to go by themselves to the police station. And one other important thing that we've really been able to do here is assist our clients with job search assistance as well, with resume building, with helping them actually find jobs, and that's the role of the case manager. So all of us working collectively together and each of us playing our individual part is really what makes the difference and helps us get to the point where Judge Keene had described that, you know, we provide such outstanding representation to our clients. I also want to just mention very briefly that with the assistance of the Office of Court Administration, we have been able to serve our rural populations in Hoosick Falls and opened up a court kiosk there for them to file petitions. And we also have that office staffed. That program's been in existence for a little less than a year now. So that's another service that we've been able to provide. And last but not least, I want to just share with you a powerful testimony from a client that worked with us at Unity House that I believe is really the biggest success story that we've ever had in the history of the law project here. Several years ago, I was able to come in contact with a woman who was trafficked here from the Far East. And she was living in rural Rensselaer County with her husband and young child. This client was the victim of serious physical abuse, and the last incident that occurred, her husband had beaten her in her head, on her neck, and in her body with one of the instruments that he would use to clean their indoor in-ground pool. So she fled basically with the clothes on her back to our domestic violence shelter with her daughter. And she was very nervous about going to court and very stressed about that experience. There was also a language barrier as well. But I can tell you, the moment she walked in the courtroom, we were encountered with a very strong woman judge that had a zero tolerance policy for any kind of domestic violence. And our client was able to walk away from that experience validated by the courts, and also believed that her story was real, that this happened to her, and she got orders of protection, sole custody, and the father had very limited contact. Throughout the years, this client has worked very hard to become a registered nurse. She is now in a very healthy relationship, about to be married to a professional that she met in her career. And her daughter is perhaps the greatest success story. She's about to graduate from high school now. She's an honors student. She is a local accomplished equestrian. She also mentors young female riders. and she is now going to be entering pharmacy school in the fall of 2022. So that's an amazing story for me personally. I was very humbled to work with her, seeing someone who was literally started off in a brothel in the Far East, where women are the 1%, to now come here to this country and be able to have a success story for herself, but also a generational success story. So that's why we do what we do here. And I'm so thankful for everyone, and especially for the women judges that set a positive example for our clients, because it means so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Judge Fisher.
Thank you. Thank you both. That was a wonderful story. And it just, reminds me of, if we can just change one person's life, it's worth it, right? So I think this is a good segue into next up. I believe we have Albany Law School professor Melissa Breger and a former student and mentee who is an attorney in the Capital District, Lorraine Silverman, and they will speak on their field of expertise. So without further ado.
Thank you, Judge Fisher, and thank you to the organizers of the CLE for inviting us here today, and congrats to Judge Peters. And those were really some amazing and inspiring stories from our first two teams of presenters. So I don't know that I have anything that inspiring to add, but it's always been something near and dear to my heart to amplify the voices of those who have been silenced. As far back as even law school, I've really endeavored to magnify the voice of others, and I've really spent my career in the courtroom advocating primarily for women and children, and most often for women and children who are marginalized and disempowered, maybe facing poverty or sexism, racism, all three, and litigants who our society has silenced over and over again. It's also a topic that resonates really on a personal level with me. I have been very, very slowly working on a book called Voice, of all things. And each chapter talks about how lawyers can help give a voice to litigants. So, and I talk a lot about trauma, which I know that Heather just talked about. So, example, one chapter would be dedicated to survivors of intimate partner violence. One chapter is about victims of physical abuse by their parents. One chapter for those who've been trafficked, and so on and so forth. And so just the idea that a lawyer can be a mouthpiece for others in so many ways. So when I heard the title of today's CLE was Voice, I was so excited to be a part of it and thought maybe this will motivate me to dust off that project. In my own career, I've amplified voices of women in two central ways. One, I have personally represented women and children, which has been extraordinarily gratifying. But also over my career, I've been lucky enough to be able to give a voice to law students, and many female law students. And then those law students go on to give a voice to even more women and more litigants. And so it's like the gift that keeps on giving. You plant a seed in one person, and then that person goes on to amplify other voices for many more, and so on. And so that has been incredibly gratifying as well. So I started Albany Law School in 2002. And I had the honor to direct the Family Violence Litigation Clinic for 8 years. And there I supervised just scores of bright and engaged law students who represented women in family courts across the region, primarily those that either had experienced or were currently experiencing domestic violence. And in fact, my co-panelist today, Lorraine Silverman, then Lorraine Jenkins, was one of my very, very first law students to do so. And she was also one of my first clinic fellows, and so on. And so it has been incredibly empowering and inspiring and gratifying to see how she has gone on to give so many females a voice. And then she goes on to train other female lawyers to do this. Well, male and female lawyers. She's trained other lawyers. And still representing those women that need to be amplified. Lorraine's a real testament to how the law can be used as a vehicle of change and as a living voice for women in our society. So it just has been doubly gratifying to see her advocate for litigants across the state of New York. So with that, I would like to turn it over to hear her voice.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And thank you to everyone for being here. And certainly I would echo all of what Melissa said. And I loved when she said that a lawyer can be a mouthpiece for so many others. I think that Melissa was a wonderful mentor to me. And that's what I would like to say about today. She taught me to ask questions often and always, and to lots of people. Probably so many people on this call were people that I called to phone a friend, right? And I think that that is really, really important. If you don't know the answer, then contact somebody who does, look it up. And those are things that I think that we can give, a gift that many women can give to other younger lawyers and younger women. And I loved what Judge Peters said about pulling other women up behind you, because I think that a lot of women forget to do that for other women when we become in positions able to do that. And I absolutely learned from Melissa to help other young lawyers. And I love having law students work with me. I sort of stole the program that Melissa taught me at the law school about having law students and turning them into really great associates and having them stay with me hopefully forever. That's the goal. But really working hard with them as attorneys for children and giving voices to those children and then adult clients. And we work a lot with survivors of domestic violence as well, and continue the pro bono work that we do to give voices to people that I think don't often have them. So I would just say that I appreciate this opportunity to remind everyone to continue to do that, that we all can hopefully do for other women. And thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. Now I'm going to turn it over to another different topic. I think oftentimes society thinks that by the time people get to the court system, it's too late. Our two final groups are going to address the misperception and discuss why the courts and the legal systems can respond retroactively but proactively. We'll hear from what we call the treatment courts. We have Albany and Ulster County. We're going to start with Ulster County with the team of Judge Carrie Savona, who is in Ulster County Family Court and runs their family treatment court team, along with the coordinator, Kathy Wiley. And in full and fair disclosure, I, many years ago, was on the Ulster County Family Treatment Court team with Kathy Wiley. And a long time ago, Judge Savona and I were adversaries when she was at DSS and I was at the Public Defender's Office. But we all worked together in this treatment court. And I was so amazed by and so impressed at the dedication and the services that were provided to these people, to these women. Mostly 99% were women. So I'm going to turn it over to Judge Savona and to Kathy Wiley to talk about all the good work they do and how they really are the voice for so many women that need it desperately in Ulster County.
Thank you, Judge Fisher, and congratulations to Justice Peters. I thought I'd start out by just briefly explaining for anyone that doesn't know what the Family Treatment Court is. Our Family Treatment Court is a specialty court, and in order for you to be a participant in our treatment court, a parent, a mother or father must admit to having a substance or alcohol use disorder and acknowledge that their disorder placed their child or children at risk of harm and neglect. We meet on a weekly basis with our participants, and currently we have about 20 participants. All are female, but 2 men. And we have about 8 other people who have been referred to our court that have not yet joined the treatment court. We meet with them weekly. We get reports on how they are doing in their treatment. And While it is a family treatment court and they are there primarily because of their substance use or alcohol use disorder, we don't just deal and address their substance or alcohol use disorder. We deal with the whole person. And what we see with these predominantly women who come into our court, they are survivors, some of childhood trauma, whether it be abuse or neglect, and this has manifested itself into the women being vulnerable or susceptible to getting into relationships with domestic violence, which ultimately lead to them turning to substances or alcohol in an effort to basically numb their pain and numb their feelings. They come to us broken with little to no self-confidence and certainly no self-worth. We help them define themselves as more than a quote unquote addict, although I know the term, we're trying to get away from that and to say that they are a pure person with a substance use disorder, so that they don't define themselves as an addict. They define themselves as a mother, as a woman, and part of who they are is that they have a substance use disorder. And we try to help them get onto the path of recovery. We define them as more than a victim. We encourage them to not see themselves as victims, but to see themselves as survivors. We hope to help them begin to do that. We hold them accountable for their choices and their actions on a weekly basis. Again, with these weekly reports, we are provided with their positive, their accomplishments, but we're also provided with the obstacles and barriers that they're facing. And we do what we can with our resources to help them overcome those barriers and those obstacles. We also put expectations on them, which lets them know that we believe that they are capable, that we believe that they can do this. They can navigate through this process. They can be reunited with their children, and they can go on to lead the life that at this point we know that they deserve, but we certainly encourage them and help them see that they deserve a better life. Their children deserves a better life, and that they can provide that to themselves and their children. One of the things that we also do is in conjunction with these reports that we receive and the conversations that we have with our participants on a weekly basis, we praise them and we acknowledge their accomplishments, no matter how small. One of our participants, she really was in a very down and depressed state, and she was having a hard time, getting out of bed, putting one foot in front of the other. So we told her to start with small goals, small accomplishments, because they lead to the larger goals and the larger accomplishments. They give you those little goals. Achieving those little goals gives you a sense of pride and a sense of confidence. So we challenged her with, for the next week, get up and make your bed every day and clean your room every day. And when you come back and you see us next week, we're going to ask you how you did. She came in the following week with the biggest smile on her face and so happy to tell us that she made her bed every day and she cleaned her room every day. And to us, that may be something very small, but to her, it made her realize that she deserves to live in a warm, comfortable, clean, safe environment. And just doing that, checking that box every day for a week, started to plant that for her, that seed of self-confidence. We encourage them to strive for the life that they deserve, to raise their bar of expectations for themselves, and to regain their sense of self-worth, self-confidence, and also pride as a mother again. Because they come to us and so many times they are dejected and they feel that they are not worthy of parenting their children. And we encourage them to realize that yes, they absolutely are. Their children are blessed and fortunate to have them, and we try to help them get back onto their path of recovery. And I would like to turn it over to our wonderful coordinator, who honestly, these women would be lost without, and I certainly would as well. So I'll turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Judge Shavona. As you can imagine, the women that we meet when they come into family treatment court are really feeling powerless. In the throes of their addiction, and a lot of times just having their children removed from them. And I think that when they come in and meet with me and I kind of tell them what family treatment court's about, the first thing I tell them is, you're going to be coming every week. And of course, they're like, every week in court, but this isn't like regular court. You're going to build a relationship with the judge. The judge is going to get reports on you. from everybody that you're working with, and we're going to help our team and the judge are going to help you resolve any issues that are getting in your way of your recovery. And our goal is to get your children back to you, because if that doesn't happen, then we're not doing our job. But you got to do your part. And I always tell them, you have to put the eggs in the basket for us, and give them the tools and the guidance to do that. And for them to trust the system is very difficult, because CPS has just been in their life with the clients that we deal with. And when they come into the courtroom and the judge is like smiling at them and asking them about their kids, and, you know, letting them know we're all on the same plate, we're all got the same information, we're here to support you, I think it builds, for the first time, a relationship of trust in the system, a trust with other providers, and it grows from there. And one of the quotes that I had seen, and we were talking about the other day, we just met with someone who moved to phase 3, who we had actually discharged from treatment court at one time because she wasn't ready, and then asked to come back to treatment court, and is now getting her children back, returned to her. Just was giddy about getting a full-time job when she met with us. And one of the big things she said was, we all believed in her when she did not believe in herself. And that's really powerful. But the next question to her is, what are you going to do to reach back and help the people behind, the women behind you? And we really encourage that in treatment court. If you're having trouble going to meetings, or, you know, to reach out to the other women and get that support and build that sober support with other women. Because a lot of our women don't trust other women. They haven't had healthy relationships with other women. And it's a real struggle, I think, for them not to fall back into those toxic and, you know, dysfunctional relationships that they've known and feel so comfortable for them. So I think one of the quote that I love is, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. And we have to remember that, because I think sometimes we all of us, and from listening to everybody on here, it's a struggle, and we're dealing with people who do feel powerless, who don't feel heard, and don't feel worthy, and do a few things that they need to do and want it all fixed. And, you know, for us to kind of like help them work through the process, accept the process, and trust the process. And hopefully it continues to grow from there, because I tell them all the time, this is not defining your life. This is a piece of your life. You have so much more in front of you, but it's your choice. And every choice that you make every day is going to determine where you go from here. Just showing up to treatment, showing up for a child visit, that's the first step. And, you know, I think we rely on our girls who are further along and our past graduates to kind of come back and encourage those behind them. So that's what we do.
Thank you. Thank you. And you do, I think a part of your success is the weekly accountability. And I remember from being there,
Absolutely.
the happiest day is graduation day, when, you know, they get their kids back and they're just so proud. And it's,
Oh, I cry.
and it's just amazing that, like you said, that the weekly accountability, listening every week to what they say and keeping on top of their day-to-day struggles is really awesome. And I applaud you, and I love all the work you do. So keep up the good work. And we're going to go up the thruway to Albany County now, and we're going to see what they're doing up in Albany County, and the same thing with my friend Judge Kushner and I think Alyssa, and they're going to discuss what their perspective, what they do up there in Albany. So I'll turn off my camera and I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Can anyone hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I want to thank, first of all, I want to congratulate Justice Peters as well, and good afternoon to everyone. I have two quotes that I like to share, and I think they apply to all of us, and they're pretty famous quotes. And that's, the first one is Eleanor Roosevelt, that well-behaved women rarely make history. And the second one is from Shirley Chisholm. And her quote is, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." So we also run drug treatment court here in Albany County. I appreciate Judge Savona's very detailed explanation of what we try to accomplish and how we do it on a weekly basis. Albany County is slightly different in that we run both an adult treatment court for parents who have had children removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect, but we also run a juvenile treatment court here. And we do have men and women in both of our courts. I do agree when it comes to the children aspect and the adult aspect where the children have been removed. That is majority women, but we certainly do have men as well. So since she already gave you the overview, what I want to start with is a statement that, an essay, basically, that was written by one of our participants that I think really encapsulates exactly what we do try to accomplish here. And this was written by one of our participants, like I said, and she titles this, "Who Am I?" And she wrote this as she was about to complete drug treatment court with us. "I'm a 25-year-old woman. I'm an addict. I am beautiful. If you ask me who I am, I can go down a list of painful, beautiful, lifelong characteristics. I've been through the rough patches in my childhood. I've had fun in my young adult life, but also faced a lot of scary. I'm the kid who was touched, beaten, mentally tortured, but I'm also the girl who cared and was loved for from an amazing woman and life-changing mother who was not biologically mine. Blood doesn't define our relationship. I see her as my mom, and she sees me as her daughter. Growing up, I thought I was unlovable until I met her. She raised me well. What I did after that has nothing to do with how she mothered me. I suffer with anxiety, PTSD, and mood disorder, but that too doesn't define me. I have 4 beautiful children that I love unconditionally. After my second kid, I ran into some problems mentally and physically, so I decided it was in my kids' best interest, in my own best interest, to give them to my mom where I knew they would be safe. I was homeless, running the streets. I got into abusive, dangerous relationships. So I started dipping and dabbing and partying to erase the hurt that I was feeling. I was introduced to different types of drugs, but my drug of choice was largely marijuana. At first, I socially smoked, and then it was for sleep, and then it was to eat, and then to make me feel better, and when I was sick. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't want to face my demons. After I got my son taken from my custody in April of 2019, I knew it was my time that I had to do something different. At first, I was in so much pain, I was just worried and wanted to be numb. Drugs were good for that. And one day, I was introduced to drug treatment court. It made me open my eyes to a new way of healing. The disease of addiction would continue to whisper in my head, saying that they were no good because they would tear me apart. I wanted to heal so bad, and it was so hard to shut this disease up. After I got pregnant with my 4th child and was put into an inpatient program, I knew it was my chance. I was not around anything that could get in the way of anything other than myself, but I wanted to be better, not only for myself, but for my children. I got into inpatient, I did the 12 steps, I put them to work. I also worked on my mental health problems, which to me was probably the core of my problems to begin with. After I turned my life over to my higher power, things started to get better. I trusted the process, and it worked in my favor. I was beginning to change. So if you ask me who I am now, my answer would be better. I'm still a 25-year-old woman, and I'm a mother. I'm a recovering addict. I am the woman who learned from her mistakes. I am the mother who got her kids back, and the mother who gave birth to a drug-free, beautiful little girl. I am the woman that fights through the cravings. I am the woman who mom is proud of now. I am the person that has forgiven myself. I am the person that deals with my issues and pain head on instead of numbing it. I am the person that let go of the past, and I am now building my future. I am someone that loves my life. I am the person that believes in myself, and I know I can do it. I am the person that can teach and help others now. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am capable. I am resilient, and I am a great mother. There's always more room for growth, and yes, I still have more growing to do, but I am the person who knows who I am now. And one day, I hope that I can be there for others, just like my sober support network was there for me. And what I'd like to do, and I've cut into her time, and I'm sorry, I have Alyssa Heller here with me. Alyssa can provide a very unique perspective because she served in our drug treatment court from two very different positions. She not only served as the public defender who would come in and support her clients through drug treatment court, but then she switched gears, and now she is actually part of the Department for Children, Youth, and Families, so part of the Child Protective Network. So she is going to speak with you for a few minutes, and we're very happy to have her, about how we get these women and men to the point where they can write something like that about themselves. So please, Alyssa, go right ahead.
Thank you, Judge. So as the judge said, I do come at this from a very unique perspective. I spent almost 5 years on the team on the public defense side, and in my role as a public defender with these participants, but namely women, I would have to sit down with them, and they would be broken. They would be torn to shreds. Their children just got taken away. They're in the throes of their addictions, and they don't know what to do. And one of the first conversations I'd have with them was, in order to be the best mom you can be, you have to be the best version of yourself. And it was all about getting them to take back their power, take back power over their addiction, over their mental health, their physical health, their relationships, and just their lives in general. And hearing Judge Kushner read that, I know the participant who wrote that. Unfortunately, she passed away in December from an unrelated issue. And I can confidently say, for the years I worked with her, she got her power back. And she passed away having that power back. And her legacy is something that she left behind in a positive manner. So fast forward, I come over to the department, and I struggled at first as to what my role would be and how that would look. But what I realized is that treatment courts are a collaborative approach, and it doesn't matter what side of the table I sit on. It's about empowering the women. It's about getting them to take their power back. Our goal is to reunite families and reunite families in their own communities. And I think a unique perspective that treatment courts have is we work with members of the public within their own community. You can go to treatment, and your roommate could be from New Jersey, your roommate could be from Maine. You don't know, but you're setting up supports in your own community. And then when you're done with treatment court, when you've moved on, you've graduated, your community supports that you have empowered yourself with are right there. They're a stone's throw away. They're a mile or two away. They're a bus ride away. And that's what we really try to do for these women, is to show them that they can be the person they've always wanted to be, and they can be the strong mother, the strong advocate, the strong person that they've always wanted to be right here in their own community, and they can change lives just like they change a lot of our lives. And it's been a pleasure to work with a lot of these women and see that transformation, because they do come in so broken. So to see that transformation is one of the most rewarding parts of the job, no matter what side of the table you sit on. So thank you.
Thank you.
you. Thank you. And thank you, Alyssa. I love what you said about being the best version of yourself. That's a very good mantra to live by. And I sat in your shoes once upon a time, and I know how rewarding your job is. I want to thank everybody today, one, for offering to be on the panel. I know it's Women's History Month, and I know there's a lot of programs out there, and a lot of times we focus on the women's suffrage movement and other women that in history have paved the way for all of us to be here. But I really wanted to use the opportunity for this programming to focus on the here and now, and what the women in our community here in the Third Department and the Third Judicial District, more specifically, are doing on a daily basis to create history, especially with these specialty courts and the treatment courts and the domestic violence courts and all these other courts that really usually are run by women, and they help these other women who are so broken really pick themselves up and put themselves back together again in the best way we can, and at least give them tools and opportunities to do that. So I know we're out of time for questions. I did have a list of questions, but I know we're out of time, and I know everyone's time is tight, and I appreciate everyone attending today and using their lunch hour to listen to all these great things that are happening within our district. And I hope that if anybody has any questions, if they have clients that they think would fit in any of these programs, or if they want to assist in any of these programs or be on any of them, their teams, please feel free to reach out to me or to any of the speakers today, and I will provide you with the email and the contact information. So thank you again for attending, and happy spring.